Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today will be more of an old time-like video, and it won't be about the 100-day project, it won't be about any series, it's just gonna be painting. And I wanted to explore today something that I've started to do somewhere in here. So what I did here actually was to play with white watercolors, because I don't know if that's the case with you, but when I started watercolor, I bought this big pack here of Winsor & Newton cotton watercolor, and it came with a white. Actually it came with two whites, but the other one's in another palette. And when I started with watercolor, I didn't understand really what was white, and I thought today it would be nice to try to play with this white and see what you can actually achieve with white. And I've experimented a little bit with white here, and I'm gonna do some more experimentation on camera, and after that I will try to do a more finished piece using the white watercolor and see what interesting things it can create. So let's take a new page here, and let's just start with a brush. That would be nice. A little bit of water, and what I'm gonna do first is to take a color, so a pretty intense one. So this is a phthalo blue. As you can see, it's pretty intense. Even when I'm adding water, it stays quite intense. So this is the color here. I think you can hear on the camera, but it's super windy here, so I hope the sound will be okay. Otherwise I will do a voiceover. And I'm also gonna put some more with less water so that you can really see. So this is phthalo blue, straight out of the pan. And now I'm gonna mix. I really need to clean my palette because there are so many things everywhere in this palette. Let's clean a little bit here. And use this place to put some phthalo blue with some white. And I'm putting quite a lot of white watercolor, and the first thing you need to know with white watercolor is that it's more like gouache, so it's slightly opaque, or semi-opaque I guess. And it can be used to make a color more opaque obviously, and to lighten the color without getting this watery texture. I'm adding even more, and then if I'm adding some water, this is what it looks like. And I have the feeling that it makes the color more granulating also. So if I'm putting a lot of water and I'm putting my blue mixed with the white, as you can see, it creates. I'm using 100% cellulose paper here, so it may be different on 100% cotton paper, but I feel like the color is more granulating when I'm adding a tiny bit of white inside it compared to here, where it's just. Let me zoom in so that you can see better what I'm saying here. So yeah, so here it's wet color out of the tube, and it's a tiny bit granulated, but not that much. And here I feel like you can see much more granulation. So this is the first test you can kind of do. And then what's interesting also is, let's again wet the paper, put some straight phthalo blue in, putting quite a lot of pigments here, and then rinsing my brush, taking some white, and just so I've just been putting, oh, my paint is getting out of my other paintbrush anyway. So I've just splattered some white inside my phthalo here, and I'm gonna also put some bigger dots like so, and see how it goes when it's drying out. So let's wait for this to dry out, and then we'll see where we can go from there. So I've used the hair dryer to quicken this one is not completely dry, but the other are dry. Just taking notes so that I remember what were the different tests I've made. And one last test I want to make is just taking a not too wet brush and putting quite a big amount of white on it and trying to see here, for instance, how opaque can I have my white. And the issue, of course, is that we'll be lifting the color underneath. So of course it will be lifting a little bit the blue that is underneath, so you can't really achieve perfect white. And just for comparison, I have here a tube of white gouache, and I'm going to take a little bit of gouache straight out of the tube and put it next to it. And it's not super high quality gouache. So of course with gouache you can get really opaque because you can put a thicker consistency, which is difficult with watercolor. It's a bit like dried white gouache where it's hard to get it really opaque again. And yeah, one last thing I wanted to do is again to put some water, to put some phthalo, good amount of phthalo again. Then this starting to dry a little bit, and when it's starting to dry I will add a bit of white in it. It's kind of sitting here, the white, because the pigments are a bit bigger, I guess, than watercolor ones, so it's not flowing as you would have if I was putting a drop of another color inside this. So I'm just gonna sketch out a little thing with heels, and I'm gonna see how I can integrate the white watercolor inside. So I think it's nice for monochrome paintings too. I think I've done one somewhere. Let me check this out. Here. This is a monochrome I did with only, I think it was Purple Lake and white watercolor to have this really soft, and I think I used, no, it wasn't white watercolor, it was white gouache here. So I was using a mix of one color in watercolor and white gouache to achieve this very muted and pastel color, kind of desaturated pastel color in the background. So I think we can achieve kind of the same effect with the white gouache. So let's see how it goes. I'm just gonna finish my test first here, putting some more, seeing a different drying times, how it changes also the way it behaves with white. Okay, so let's start. I'm gonna do a very soft sketch because I don't want the sketch to be taking too much time and too much attention. So I will try to use a limited palette because I think it's always nice to use limited palettes. So I'll be using white, of course. I'm gonna be using, I think I'm gonna try to use the phthalo blue. I will be using yellow ochre, cadmium red, and phthalo, and yeah, let's try with that. So first I'm going to start with phthalo and some cadmium to get a purplish color for the heels in the background. I'm just going to put this over all the heels in the background. Then I'm going to add a bit of white gouache here with a bit of blue to add some color shift in this background here, and to show some of my shadows, so it helps me to get a more grayish color and a more opaque grayish color here, as you can see. Okay, so I think this will be my foreground here, and I'm gonna be adding some white to the kind of valley, some white gouache here, some white watercolor, sorry, to give a little bit of a fog effect. At least that's what I hope it will be. It will end up looking like. So I'm adding quite a lot here of the white watercolor. So those are for the heels here. Here, those are some vineyards. So first I need a dark color for my shadows. So I'm going to start with that. And I'm mixing my three colors together here, trying to get kind of a brownish color, like so. And I'm going to add this to the forest parts. Here it's a very dark forest here. And you can see already how the white is starting to bleed into the other colors and creating some blossoms and stuff. I'm not sure it creates the fog effect I wanted, but it creates some interesting effects for sure. So I'm not going for a finished look on this piece, it's just to experiment on a bigger piece how the colors can look together and how I can use the whites to my advantage. Now I'm creating a green to add some green to the forest parts. And in the front part here I will add some more yellow to my green. And add this one all the way to on my foreground. And I think I'm gonna add on the foreground I'm gonna reuse the same mix, but add a little bit more phthalo and add some white to have a more opaque look on my foreground too, to kind of differentiate it from the background. And it's really interesting the colors you can achieve with the phthalo and the ochre. You can have really nice colors. Here I'm adding directly some white to try to create some textures in the foreground with the white. So now let's do a mix of yellow and a tiny bit of red to create some of the lines here of the vineyards, because it's a season where everything is getting with beautiful autumn colors. It's a photograph I had taken when the vineyards were starting to become brighter and brighter. And I think I will also add some white to my mix because it's I want it to be lighter actually. That's a bit too late now, but I'm just gonna see the color I could have achieved. Yeah, I think adding a little bit of white would have allowed me to keep the opacity and so go on top of the green really easily, but at the same time having a lighter color that suited more the mood of the whole thing. Okay, and for this heel here, I'm gonna go first with some green undertone, let's say. And I'm gonna add some white again at the bottom to try to do again this kind of mist effect here. I'm continuing to add some white while this is drying to create this mist effect also on the bottom of the heels and on the beginning of the vineyards too. And maybe I will put some also here. So like I said, just experimenting. And I don't know if those are things you could achieve. Probably those are things you could achieve with other techniques in watercolors. So if I was not trying to use white, I would probably be approaching the painting in a different way. And maybe using white is not the most efficient way to achieve what I'm trying to do. But I think it's always interesting to experiment and push you out of your comfort zone and to try things. So that's what I'm doing here with this painting. Just trying out new things. So I'm adding the color and it's very interesting how it's interacting with the place where I put it some white. And I think it conveys kind of this winter feeling, frosty winter feeling, which is interesting because you have the autumn colors, but you still have a little bit of this winter feeling. That's nice. So my battery died out as I was doing the finishing touches, so let me recap. So this is what I did at the beginning with the phthalo blue and different attempts of introducing white into it to create a really nice pastel color here, to create a little bit more granulation here, adding splashes of white into wet phthalo at different types of wetness and splatters here. And that's the comparison between the opacity of the white watercolor compared to white gouache. And then here is the piece that I've created, introducing white watercolor. So I've used 3 colors here, phthalo blue, cadmium red, and yellow ochre. And as you can see, the fog effect works. It creates a nice effect, I think. I don't know if it creates a fog effect really, but it's a nice effect. Here in the background, I think I put too much, and when it was too wet still, so it kind of bled in, creating some nice blossoms, but that I didn't want it there, so you have to be careful with that. But here I think it worked pretty nice. I really like also how it allowed me to create some lighter version of the colors while still being opaque, to create some details at the end and some little spatters here and there. So yeah, I think it's an interesting way to push yourself out of your comfort zone and try things. So is white watercolor the most useful watercolor? No, I don't think so. But can you use it to create some nice effects? Yeah, I think. And you need to practice it, and I will probably continue to experiment with it to understand better how to control the effects that I'm creating and to use them to my advantage. So yeah, this is what I painted today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm see you in my next video. Bye!